This is the all-new Lamborghini Temerario, and I'm here at the Autodromo in Modena, about half an hour from Lamborghini's HQ in Sant'Agata, to drive a late-stage development prototype. We'll also be catching up with the company's super boffin, Chief Technical Officer Reuven Moore, the man we can thank for Lamborghini's newfound driftability. And we'll be meeting Chief Designer Mitja Borkert. All that's to come, but with a prototype Lambo and an empty track waiting, let's get on and drive the thing first. Okay, here we go then. This is a development prototype of the Lamborghini Temerario. Listen to that noise. That sounds almost agricultural at low revs, doesn't it? Flat plane crank, that's one of the harmonic signatures of that particular format. I quite like it. It's a little kind of industrial sounding at low revs. Now, the electric front axle is all about sharpening turning. Little bit of sideways there. I should say we're in Corsa mode. I haven't got the drift mode activated because today they won't let us do any drifting because they haven't set the calibration yet for a high mu surface, which this track is on a dry sunny day like we have here. Okay, so let's open it up. Whoa! Oh my goodness. All right, well, as you can hear, that industrial sound just disappears when you open this thing up. I am following Lamborghini's test driver. Woohoo! Still getting a bit sideways. And again, it's so natural. Steering is quite light. The second gear, here we are on the main straight. Bit sideways there. Right, open her up. 10,000 RPM. Listen to that. Then harden the brakes. Second gear into this little corner here. Little downhill here. It's so controllable. The front end is, oh my God, okay. That was 8,500 RPM. Basically, it revs like a superbike. Right, that combustion engine, it's an all-new 4-litre Hot V V8 with a power output of 789 bhp. That alone is 158 more than the punchiest ever Huracan. And get this, yep, it's redlined at 10,000 RPM. Highlights here include a flat plane crank, titanium conrods, and 2 very boosty turbos. But this is also a hybrid. There are 3 electric motors, each producing 148 bhp and 221 pounds-foot of torque. 2 on the front axle and a third squeezed between the engine and the transmission. There's a 3.8 kilowatt-hour battery in the central tunnel. You can charge that up at home in 30 minutes. It sounds complicated, and it is, but the headline power figure is 907 bhp. Time to speak to Lamborghini's Chief Technical Officer, Reuven Moore, to make sense of it all. Would you say this is the most complicated engine you've ever worked on?
I would say yes, to be honest. If I would say the most complicated and complex drivetrain overall, because it's not only the engine itself, it's mechanically wise complicated, thermodynamically wise complicated based on the rev limit and also the combustion you have to manage at this rev limit with the turbo charged or the turbo boost. But if you compare the entire picture, so means you have a V8 engine with 2 independent engine control units because we want to be precise, cylinder bank by cylinder bank. We have an electric motor that is integrated here with a specific inverter. We have 2 electric motors on the front, also 2 axial flux machine with specific inverter. So if I sum up all the drivetrain, is for sure, I would even say at the moment, one of the most complicated or complex, let's formulate it in a positive way, complex drivetrains that you can find on the market, even if you consider also the hypercar segment.
Why is 10,000 RPM so difficult with a turbo engine?
First of all, we like it because it's cool, because so far no one else did it with a turbocharged engine to achieve this performance level, at least not on the, let me say, on the street production side. And why it's so difficult? It's based on the physics. First of all, in general, 10,000 rev limit is for every mechanical, let me say, combustion engine a challenge. Piston speed, the speed of the valve train, the chains of the valve train that it starts to vibrate, all the things you have to manage in a way that you can achieve mechanically this length. On top of a turbocharged engine, you have the issue that you have to decide let me say, your turbo size. Because it's clear that if you want to rev with a 4-liter V8 engine, 10,000, it's easy to calculate how much air you need, especially if you want to have still boost at the high revs. Because otherwise you lose the boost at 7,000 and it simply doesn't make sense to rev higher. So therefore, we have to decide, let me say, the turbocharger size, and these sizes are quite big. If you look at the turbine diameter, I mean, it's one of the biggest turbochargers on the market. And I can tell you it's only working, this concept, because we have at the same time the electric motor directly on the crankshaft. You see here, it's an axial flux machine that is supporting the combustion at low and mid-rev range, because otherwise the drivability would be for sure not the best one. So it's always the combination between turbocharger size and also the electric motor.
The big question is, how does it sound? The Huracan's V10 makes one of the greatest noises in the entire history of humankind, and a turbo V8 has its work cut out matching that.
Would I say the Temerario sounds better than the V10? I wouldn't be able to say that. But it doesn't sound worse either, it just sounds different. The engineers have, got to say, worked their watsits off on their harmonics. There's a physical sound tube that pumps a bit more noise into the cabin. The flat plane crank helps as well, of course, something to do with the cylinder firing order, and it delivers more even exhaust pulses. Lamborghini have worked really hard on the engine mounts and the body to transmit more vibrations. You know, we're living in a world where we're driving more and more EVs, and we're moaning because they don't deliver enough sensation, just the nature of electrons flowing out of a battery. This thing is sensational. My God, this chassis is wonderful. There's a little crest there. Gets a bit lively there. Brakes are terrific. 410mm diameter in the front. Woo! Oh, this thing is mega. I am loving this. Fully sideways there. And I haven't even got drift mode activated. This thing is incredible. Yes, I think we can conclude from this experiment. Oh, not only is this engine a worthy successor to that V10, but this thing handles beautifully. So entertaining. Whoop. I'm going to hook third here. Bit more traction on the exit there. Second gear here. Throw it in, get on the gas. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, good job, guys. Sound like an F1 driver, don't I? Not that good, but I tell you what, this thing doesn't have to look after you. At no point did I feel like that when we were on the edge of adhesion that it was going to get away from me. And I stress again, I haven't even got access to drift modes. This is great hardware and really cleverly worked out software. And remember, this is the kind of, the Temerario kind of starter. There's so much more to come. But what a great basis. And I've got to say, there aren't many mid-engine cars with 900 horsepower plus that you can just play with on the limit like that. Fantastic. And what you lose at the bottom end in terms of harmonics, I think you'll have to agree, you gain at 9,000 and 10,000 RPM. And this is the gateway drug of Lamborghini, not the full bad boy experience.
Our track time is over, but let's have a proper poke around the interior. Is it still an old school and, well, rather uncomfortable Lamborghini?
Do you remember when you needed to be as supple as a Soviet gymnast to drive a mid-engined Italian super sports car. Lamborghini does. It made loads of them, and I've driven lots of them, and sometimes the pedals were in a different postcode from the rest of the car. But the Temerario is different. In fact, Lamborghini says there's more space inside for occupants and stuff than in any car in this particular segment, and it's done that whilst preserving what it calls a feel like a pilot ethos. This is certainly aping the world of aviation. Let's fire it up. The lower driving position means that the Temerario definitely does feel more purposeful. I mean, it's a super sports car, so it's good to feel connected, right? The architecture of the interior, it's an evolution of the setup in the Revuelto, including this center console that actually looks a bit like an angry space invader. And yes, the steering wheel is absolutely festooned in buttons, but they have a nice action to them. There's one for the lift, nose lift here, indicator buttons here, wipers here. There's some buttons behind the wheel for volume control and the audio. And most importantly, this little red dial here, which operates all the different drive modes. And this is where things get rather complicated. There are 5 main modes: Cheetah, Strada, Corsa, Corsa Plus, and a drift mode that uses the front motors to provide torque vectoring and 3 levels of slip intervention. Yeah, I like the steering wheel. I like these large gear shift paddles as well, fix the steering column, so regardless of how much lock you have on, grabbing an up or down shift is always easy. The main display, that's 12.3 inch, fully digital. You can configure it, push this little view button, that's full map, that's dynamic, and then there's one for essential info only. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then the infotainment is all done on this central screen here. I think that's about 8.4 inches in size. And all the panels are, yes, they're shaped as hexagons. I mean, why would they be square or round? This car is full of hexagons. And you can swipe some of these apps off this main display and onto the sort of auxiliary display, the one in front of the passenger. These things have been around for a few years now. I'm really not sure I really want a display if I'm sitting in the passenger seat. I mean, it's showing tire pressures at the moment. That would be a lively conversation, wouldn't it, as you drive along?
So the interior is another box ticked off, but Lamborghini have made some of the greatest looking cars ever. No pressure then on Mitja Borkert, the company's chief design officer. Let's have a look at the Temerario without the psychedelic bumblebee disguise.
Mitja, nice to see you again.
Jason.
I like what you've done with the place.
It's great to have you here back in Centro Stile.
Thank you very much. So let's go through the principles that have informed the design language of the Temerario. I mean, where do you start?
The Temerario, of course, is following 100% our design DNA. It's about the silhouette, it's about the recognition from far away that you can recognize a Lamborghini. But the Temerario, of course, needs and wants to be different to his older brother, the Revuelto. So it is, you know, like in the family, it is the one that is a little bit more the rebel. So it is more compact, more agile. I'm inspired from motorcycles. You know, when I leave my house, I pass by my motorcycles, and in a way I found it always attractive to kind of combine the idea of a super sports motorcycle with Lamborghini. Because when you look at the original Countach with the chopped rear, the exposed tires, this is part of Lamborghini. But then when we are dressing our car, when I say we have this powertrain, and in the end of the day, when you see the naked engine, it is huge in the sense of there's a lot of mechanics, and you know, why not showing this? That's what I love on motorcycles. They don't cover the engine, they show bits and pieces of the engine, and we did it here in the same way. So for example, the engine cover is designed like a motorcycle. Underneath we have those V-strut, we call it. Then I love this high position of the exhaust pipe. I really love it. It's really sexy, like in the super bike. And then we spoke about the thermal requirements. So for sure, the thing needs to breathe, and we thought it's super cool to have here those shark gill air outlets, giving a technical feeling. Yeah? I believe today a designer cannot just take you know, his white scarf and say, if I have to use this, I'm not able to design the car anymore. This, you know, I think those days are over. Today you need to be professional. We have from day one, we have sketched the Temerario fixing the wheelbase, fixing the right size for this car. And then, of course, when you are dressing our fantastic powertrains as a designer, you need to understand that there are some thermal requirements, and so the engine not only needs to play your guitar riff, but it needs also to breathe, and it needs to play the right sound. And then, of course, you need some speaker box outlets, no? I think. I want that people smile. I want that people enjoy our cars. You know, that's the reason why a Lamborghini exists. It's a car that is, you know, it's there to make the people happy.
Is the new hybridized twin-turbo V8 better than the old V10? It's different, but the way it struts its stuff up to 10,000 RPM is intoxicating. Is it too complicated? No, I wouldn't say so. None of the complexity overwhelms any part of the car, and it actively enhances plenty of others. Is it a true Lamborghini? It's probably better than that, actually. And this, remember, is just the start.